Congress made possible for the first time direct TV debate by the candidates. Chicago was the scene for the first great debate.
I just want to see if the position of the lectern is right. Will you take camera 2, please, Roger?
In the studio, producer Don Hewitt prepared for the arrival of the two candidates, Nixon and Kennedy. Representatives of the candidates inspected and approved each detail of preparation, down to the shade of gray in the painting of the set. Vice President Nixon is the first to arrive. He had campaigned all through the morning and paused only for solitary rest that afternoon in a hotel room without staff or entourage. Now, he listened while the rules of TV debate were explained.
Agreeable. I think we just both should stand here. Is that right? Right. Good. Excellent. Oh, and incidentally, I think what Howard will actually say is the first question now to Senator Kennedy. You may not want to get up till he's finished. Then once you've got enough to comment on it, then you're up for the rest of the... And Howard will hit the gavel if somebody ignores it. What does the cut? The cut means that's it.
Get out, Grace.
5 seconds. Right? No, what I mean is you want to quit quickly or how?
Yes. Well, we figure when you see 30 seconds...
Then try to bring... All right.
And then the cut is, that's it. And then Howard will give you a few seconds over the cut and then bang,
I
bang.
understand. Sure. Well, we'll
come on. Stay right there, Mr. Looking right at the camera here. Do that again. Take care again, Candy. Look this way, please.
Well, you had a big crowd in Cleveland then, right?
Vice President.
With the wind. The wind, okay. The wind goes blazing.
We have to shake your hand, please. We didn't all get it.
All right. One more.
Thank you. Okay.
Now, are you leaving the morning? No, I leave at the first thing in the morning.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Kennedy, would you mind looking around here a second? That's it. Thanks very much.
Hey, you get back well.
Hey, Mr. Loud. Come on.
All right.
Senator, please stand back. Can we clear the shot now? Will everybody just move back, please? Okay, fellas, can we strike this right away, please? And put the other lectern in? Will somebody please take that?
Now,
David, will you hit the 1 minute switch, please?
You hear me now, speaking? Is that about the right tone of voice? It is a pleasure to be here tonight and to participate in this program, which opens up a series of discussions, sometimes known as great debates.
Both fell silent as airtime approached, composing themselves, as the largest audiences in political history prepared to judge the two men for leadership. All across the land, parents shushed children. It was 8:30 September 26th, and millions bent forward to see the next president. Finally, they heard,
So much easier to do, pure magic for you. Spiral brush, colors, curls, waterproofs, really separate flashes. New magic mascara.
Good evening. The television and radio stations of the United States and their affiliated stations are proud to provide facilities for a discussion of issues in the current political campaign by the two major candidates for the presidency. The Republican candidate, Vice President Richard M. Nixon, and the Democratic candidate, Senator John F. Kennedy. In this, the first discussion...
The audience for this debate was almost too huge to imagine. This was the first debate of 4. Researchers will later claim that each debate caught the attention of almost 70 million Americans.
Mr. Smith, Mr. Nixon, in the election of 1860, Abraham Lincoln said the question was whether this nation could exist, half slave or half free. In the election of 1960, and with the world around us, the question is whether the world will exist, half slave or half...
The subject of this debate was domestic affairs. Kennedy had spent a relaxing day at the Ambassador East Hotel with his brain trusters, preparing as if for a college exam. Kennedy directed himself not so much to Nixon as to the unseen audiences across the nation. Nixon, however, in debater's style, addressed himself chiefly to Kennedy.
Smith, Senator Kennedy, the things that Senator Kennedy has said, many of us can agree with. There is no question but that we cannot discuss our internal affairs in the United States.
The Nixon campaign had stressed his superiority and experience, but face to face, the two men seemed evenly matched. With this debate, the Nixon claim was shaken. Moreover, ill at ease, under strain, dressed in a suit of gray that blended into the background, Nixon in these first debates left a disappointing image that would remain in the minds of millions of voters.
Kennedy wore a blue suit and shirt to cut down on the glare and appeared sharply focused against the gray studio background. Kennedy refused makeup in front of Nixon, but later decided to put it on. Nixon's poor appearance on television in the first debate is reflected by the fact that his mother called him, immediately following the debate, to ask if he was sick.
For years, men would argue who won or lost these debates, but political analysts will agree that these TV debates were the single most important episode of the campaign.
I've been asked by the candidates to thank the American networks and the affiliated stations for providing time and facilities.
Overnight, TV had given Kennedy star quality. Public response soared.
Though Nixon seemed much more poised and relaxed in the 3 subsequent debates, it was the first encounter which reshaped the entire election. Almost overnight, the issues of experience and maturity seemed to fade from the campaign. While most Americans watching the debates felt that Kennedy had won, most radio listeners seemed to favor Nixon. Studies would later show that of the 4 million voters who made up their minds as a result of the debates, 3 million voted for Kennedy. According to the polls, Kennedy moved from a slight deficit into a slight lead over Nixon.
As Election Day approached, the momentum seemed to be running toward the Kennedy-Johnson ticket. Even though Kennedy had eloquently confronted the religious issue in a September appearance before the Greater Houston Ministerial Association, anti-Catholic feeling remained a wild card in the campaign. Yet several key states seemed to shift toward Nixon, and by November 8th, the pollsters were declaring the election a toss-up. Television, for the first time, became the dominant source of information for voters, as both candidates sought the potentially decisive support of the steadily growing suburban population.
A record number of Americans, upwards of 67 million, go to the polls to elect the 35th President of the United States. Citizens from Maine to Hawaii record their choices as the attention of the entire globe focuses on the contest for the leadership of the most powerful nation of the free world. The Democratic nominee is an early favorite, and first returns bear out predictions in Mr. Kennedy's favor. But GOP standard-bearer Richard Nixon is staunchly supported.
Electoral margin was 303 to 219. However, the popular vote was split 49.7% to 49.5%. Ultimately, Kennedy won by a mere 115,000 votes.
As the vagaries of the popular ballot resulted in one of the closest national elections since 1916.
With the election ending in such a close finish, the power of Kennedy's media presence was immeasurable. Like FDR championed the radio, Kennedy conquered the television. TV made the election process more personal as politicians could make a direct appeal to the public. Kennedy was considered the living room candidate, and he continued to grow his charismatic image. Only 8 years later, Richard Nixon took his hard-learned lessons from 1960 and used the media to facilitate his ascension to the presidency. The successes and failures in the campaign of that year laid the groundwork for future media strategy. With the proven results of television's effectiveness, its importance has only increased since 1960. The Kennedy election was the first $20 million presidential campaign, and was quickly followed by the advent of big-dollar television advertising. By 1972, only 12 years later, it had received the record-breaking amount of $91 million. Today, media costs have risen 30-fold. The election process has been revolutionized. This reliance on the media has rendered the humble front porch campaigning of yesteryear obsolete.